So welcome back to Tozai Designs Hexagon Jewelry Box build video. Part 3. Sorry, here we are. I'm making the tray bottoms. This is 8th inch stock, and here are two bottoms in the glue up. And it's hard to see, but I've made them. They're a little loose in there. They're not tight. They're not banging up against every corner. And this is kind of strange because it's a hexagon. You know, the groove in there is 3/32, right? Like, so you got to get it right. I mean, it's got to be pretty much exactly right, or either this won't close. And as you can see, these joints are all pretty good. I'm going to go with it anyway with this clamp closed. This isn't glued up. This is a dry run. This is how I'm got my blanks out. This is the best way I found to make these hexagon tops. I've been doing it with a machine. I now do it with a shooting board, a couple of 60, 30, 90 degree squares, and a plane. And I end up planing to a line. I have to find a better way to do it, but I actually find this quite pleasant. But this is kind of fun. I got my old trusty 48mm kind, and I'm going to zoom in here and show you how I do it. I'm going to just plane away with my trusty kana. You do want to take the line. Okay, so here we go. And one more. That's it. It's actually kind of fun. I love working with my hand planes. Time for a set of pair of trays. The whole trick with doing the trays is to dry fit everything and put it in the... You might have stuff in there, something still needs to be trimmed. It's the safest way to get it done. And so this one is the same. I didn't put tape on the inside because it's kind of problematic. I probably should. Doesn't need a whole lot of glue. But it does get messy. So here's my... Try and keep it to the outside. And theoretically, when you're gluing something, you should glue all the surfaces. But I'm trying to keep the glue to a minimum on this. And see, there's a little bit of squeeze out in there. I'm going to leave some of it, but I'm going to get most of it with a trusty 16th inch chisel. Go on these. All right, go on these. Okay. Okay, one. So, that's the way I do this. These are 1/4-inch spacers. Okay, and now, again, look for any gross misalignments. Looks great. On these, it's actually easier to clean the glue up after it sets for 20 minutes, an hour, even an hour, just let it get hard. There's not a lot to squeeze out. Okay, so I'm preparing to glue up the the sides of the top. Got my glue out. I've taped up the inside here so I can control my squeeze out. And let's get going. The tape really helps. You want glue in there, but you don't want to hold too much. One last one. Just enough glue. All right. Okay. Let's scrape some glue off the outside. Always a good idea. Okay. Make sure everything's flush. These joints are good. Great to work at this cooler temperature because it gives you time to get everything in the setup. Okay, I like it. Me like it. Okay. Okay, so we positioned. We've got everything set up. Let's get the calls on. So, try to make this parallel. See some nice squeeze out. Okay, whole thing up, put back down. These to read parallel. So, deeper clamp. Yeah, it's all pretty good. A couple couple spots need adjustment here. Looks good. We'll let that go for at least an hour, probably longer in this cooler temperatures. So we're glued up. I got another one here. I got to make the top. I'm making the top. I need a top for this one. I have it's over here by the bandsaw. Okay, top for that. So I've got some double stick tape in here, and I'm going to route this flush. Hearing protection, eye protection. Here we go. Okay, now mark this really well. That way, any little bit of imperfection will reveal itself on reassembly. Okay, let's okay, get this tape off and work on the next one. Okay, so here I am going to put the mortise in the bottom of the top for the top. Here we go. Hearing protection, eye protection. So, as you can see here, I have a bit of cleanup with a chisel. And I still have to cut the tenon on the top of the top. But this is the last little bit of joinery left. Get sawdust all over my camera. Hope this works out. So, last little bit of joinery on this box. I'm going to cut a rabbet in I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to cut a rabbet in this, the top of this box, so I can get it in my top. Probably have to do some adjusting. So I've actually caught up my teak box. I've got the top cut, mortise tenoned in. Those triangles lined up. And the mahogany's done. That's got to be glued on. And then sanded in the contour. But that's a bit down the road. After glue up anyway. So here I'm dishing out the inside of the top. I'm actually going to dome it. I'm going to put a slight dome on this, like a 9 and 13/16 inch radius or something like that. I'm going to sort of match that inside of here. In fact, this is the radius of what I'm going to end up cutting on the top. It's really close to the radius of my Uchimaru kana. I think it's an Uchimaru kana. But it's also got a curve, so it's not exactly that. I don't even know what to call it. It's a little teeny finger plane. It's got a radius this way, it's got a radius this way, and I'm actually going to dish out the inside of this so I get a kind of consistent thickness over the dome, which will help this hopefully when humidity makes the wood want to move. This is the teak one. So here we go. This takes a while. You can see I've got some tear out here because I've come across too far. So, I don't know if you can see this. But so you kind of use a straight edge to measure the dish. That's probably, I don't know. That's 3/16. I get another ruler out and measure it. At this point you start to feather in, because this is going to go down some more, but you start to feather in this. I'm going to leave a small flat here. This is my plan. But, I don't know. That's another hour. So, that's been... I got that down to about 1/4 inch. I've checked it with my stare at depth gauge so you know what's accurate. It says just over 1/4. And I got to use my my bean planes or my finger planes, but I have dished this about 1/4 inch. And so that means that this effectively, when I'm done finishing this piece, it will be effectively 1/4 inch, 3/16 thick all the way around. It'd be more beefy at the corner a bit, but where it's all on the inside. But it's gonna be, I don't know. I've done my due diligence in making this as thin as possible so it doesn't move and react against the sides. In fact, I've even gotten the circle, the dish, pretty good. Obviously, fitting a circle inside of a hexagon is going to leave meat at the vertices, sorry. And I'm a little uneven, and I'm actually not even that perfect. But it's inside a box 5 inches up in. I'm going to let it go. But I like that. This is it's almost like why I woodwork. I love doing stuff like this. That was about 45 minutes. So here we are, the last home stretch. I've been sanding the teak top on 80 grit with this roll of sticky sandpaper. It's quite a bit of work. I mean, to get to here, get the gist, right? That's and so what I'm doing is I'm putting a curve across all these facets, and you end up actually chasing this hexagon down. You kind of follow it as it shrinks, keeping it as even as possible, and you keep your vertices all nice and neat. See, here is before. I mean, there's quite a bit of material that comes off of that. I haven't thought of a better way of doing this. I mean, it actually works pretty well. Start with 80, go to 100 to get the 80 scratches out, then 120 to get the 100 scratches out, on and on. I don't have any of the sticky sandpaper past like 220. And if I did, I'm going to order some, and I would go up even past that, because this is all cross grain, and it's really, you almost can't sand it with the grain afterwards, because you lose the shape of the detail. You've seen it before. I mean, this is the finished detail. It's pretty subtle. It's pretty nice though. This actually is in between coats. It's been rubbed out, so it's a little flat. I don't know. It's quite a bit of work to get this, but it's a nice feeling. This is the original. With all these flat facets, which is difficult enough. You end up chasing this point all over the place. And this is pretty severe. I like this one better. So that's what my gotta sand. Gotta keep sanding. So I'm trying to give you a gist of the curve of this of Hopefully you can get some reflections off of that. Just a slight curve. This is 9.52 something non-repetitive. That's the radius for this particular piece. I'll show you this in a minute. That's got some shellac on it. Here is just teak. Teak sawdust is pretty waxy, oily. Got some pretty heavy scratches in that with the 80 grit. But I mean, you can see you're removing a lot of material. So you need to start with the 80 grit. And here's the beginning. Here's how it begins on the mahogany. So the mahogany sands much faster than the teak. Pretty good. Pretty fun. Just for comparison, I'll just show the original again. It does catch the light pretty neat. So here is my jig. I just routed it out with a, keep the dust off of it. Routed it out with a router on a trammel. And put some sticky sandpaper on there and just sand. I mean, you kind of get the gist. You can track your progress with this hexagon of unsanded material, and when it actually touches there, you're done. Which I calculated should leave about 1/8 of an inch of the bottom of this top showing. And as you can see, I'm getting really close. But and in fact, you want to actually climb up with the grits to this, so you're just finally sanding that with like the last passes on 180 maybe or 220. So something like that. It's actually a good gauge of progress too.